Hi, this is Loral and welcome back. This is our market awareness broadcast. So early March, we started broadcasting on the economy, on money and what to do in this very interesting time, global shutdown, and slowly states are coming back, people are protesting. So our job is to keep you in the conversation about money. And how do you keep yourself safe? How do you keep your family safe? And how do you plan through this? And my dear, very, very dear friend, and I call her my financial mom, Sharon Lechter, is with us today. So welcome, Sharon.
Hello, my dear daughter, Loral. Love to be with you always.
I know, it's awesome. So just first impressions. Well, first of all, I got to give a way bigger setup. So everyone knows the Rich Dad, Poor Dad brand. And you were, author. You were the one that, drove, the books to the bestseller list, drove the team. And I always say, this integrated wealth team came out of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad team, right? And that the advisor team, and we just took one from that playbook and did it a little bit different. And now, as you join our community, you line up with a whole group of teammates. So just acknowledge you for all the help and support you've given.
Well, thank you. And I share the fact that, people that are just starting out, they don't necessarily have their own products or systems. And I share your tremendous success and how you came out of corporate America and came to us and leveraged what we were doing, helped us get it launched and helped us get the word spread while you were developing your own. And so people feel like they can't do it. But yes, you find somebody that you believe in and align with, and you can start making money right away.
Yep. Well, and a lot of our folks right now, we're having a big campaign about, while you're unemployed or being home, you have no excuses to lean in and learn. So learn. We just had a great, very successful 3-day event. We're north of our class so far has made upward of $30,000 so on reports. So they're finally learning how to make money. But one of the biggest things we're pushing is being an affiliate. To that point, if you don't have stuff to sell, sell my stuff. So you see my whole rack of stuff, and they could be an affiliate of yours. And one of the things we're going to add for all of our affiliates, we are going to add. So Sharon, if you want to hold up the game, we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But Sharon has another game called Thrive Time. It's for your teens. So we're going to get the game from her and add it to our game as an additional package. So those of you that are affiliates, again, selling other people's stuff is a great way to start. That's also why I've always liked direct sales companies. So we'll be adding the Thrive Time game to our store, and just gives you more stuff to sell. So I don't want to start with the family financial literacy. I want to end our interview with that. I want to talk about, like today, like where were you? Because we have hardly even had a chance to talk. I mean, we both got very active in being on broadcast.
Busier now than ever. Yep.
Well, because people need the money knowledge, and there's, especially women, I think one of us two are probably the only ones at the real how-tos. There's a lot talking about like the secret and mindset and all of that, and that's fine. But the really, what do you do with your bank account? What do you do for these loans? How do you get and preserve your credit? Like all those little how-to questions are things we've been handling. But, for us, like when it really got serious, we were in the middle of one of our live workshops. We were here in Reno, and we went from, 40, 50 people on Wednesday to like 18 people by Friday, because everybody just dispersed quickly. It was like, oh shit, I got to go home. And so
Fear.
It became very odd. Where were you when, like you kind of got the memo, like this is going to all really transpire and I got to get to the front line and help?
Well, I was actually in Florida. I had an event in Chicago, so I left Chicago and went to West Palm Beach. And then I was coming home for like 3 days, and then I had an event in Miami, Atlanta, and Nashville, and they got canceled the night before. I was, night before I already had my boarding pass, and so I've been home since, I think it's like the 8th of April? Yeah, March 8th. So it's the longest I've been home in a long time.
Me too. I know. I'm kind of liking it. I just say kind of like it. I'm loving it. So
I'm telling everybody we had a global reset, right? And so this is the time for people to really redesign their life and really get rid of what wasn't working for you. And I talk about the book Outwitting the Devil. I talked about it a little bit before we came on, but if you haven't seen it, it's Napoleon Hill's work, and it was hidden for 73 years. But he talked about 6 different kinds of fear that cripple us. And it was like the fear of poverty, death, loss of love, old age, but fear of criticism, which before this happened, I said this was the one. Fear of criticism was what was really holding people back, because I won't take action. They're afraid of what people are going to think of them, afraid of what people are going to say. But now that was erased. Now's the time. Nobody's criticizing anybody. You have the opportunity to create the life you want, and you need to do it by buying, building, or creating income producing assets, which I know Loral and I are totally aligned with.
Absolutely. So let's dig into Outwitting the Devil. So talk a little bit about Napoleon Hill and why that work was hidden. Because from what I recall, this was in his mind some of his world-class work, but it really stayed buried for quite a while. So tell us that backstory, and then let's talk about the work.
Well, I'm sure everybody in your group has heard or read Think and Grow Rich. And that was his life's work. He spent 25 years researching, and Andrew Carnegie charged him with getting to know his 500 closest friends, all men who were successful and in business. And so it took him 25 years to write the thesis. It's like a doctoral thesis on success. He interviewed 500 of the wealthiest people and thousands of people who considered themselves failures. And from that, he downloaded this commonality, and Think and Grow Rich is what he shared. And he released it in 1937, but he was frustrated because he said, I'm the guardian of this and I haven't even applied it. People know what they're supposed to do, but they don't do it. And so in 1938, in a few short months, he would have used the word downloaded if it existed back then. He felt that it was delivered to him. He wrote Outwitting the Devil. But his wife worked for the Presbyterian College, and the title scared her to death. She was afraid she'd get fired. So she forbid it to be published. It was put in the vault for 73 years. He died in 1970. She died in 84. Her sister died in like 2007 and 8. That's when the foundation got the manuscript. And Don Green called me the month we released my first book with the foundation, called 3 Feet from Gold, and said, Sharon, I have this manuscript. I'm not sure what to do with it. And he sent it to me. I actually ran over to San Diego where I do all my writing, turned off the phones, and said, I wasn't even sure I wanted to deal with it from the title, but I took the time to read it, and it transformed my life. I said, this has to get out. Even though it was locked away from 70 for so long, basically I brought it out 75 years, it was gone. It was meant for today. And I thought it was meant for that 2008 time, because as you well know, 2008 was our economy was really sick before the crash. So it took a long time to come back. But in today's environment, we've got the fear of ill health or death. We've got the fear of poverty because of what's happening in the economy. And we have the fear of isolation. All of those combined, it's like the trifecta of fear. And you can do one of two things. Fear can paralyze you and you hide away. You want to pull the covers over your head, or you can use it to motivate you. I know Loral and I get excited at these kinds of times because this is when new opportunities come to us. And so you want to be ready to take action and grab those opportunities and identify them.
And so let's talk through each one, right? So because what I've noticed and literally been broadcasting every day, and not only on mine, like you have with many other people, is what I see not only in the conversation with fear, but just money and life is collapsing. There's a lot of collapsing of issues. It's just everything's scary, everything's bad, everything, right? And then even like hearing from parents that now are laid off, being forced to figure out, I mean, in that language, right, to have to make new money, lost tons in their 401k, now have to be the teacher and the tutor. I mean, so I hear just all this collapsing. So if you were going to dissect it, and I always say, my advice to people is compartmentalize, start pulling it apart. How would you, based on Outwitting the Devil and that conversation, kind of coach people and tell people how to get through it?
Well, there's several things. And one is to understand that the more you buy into the negativity, the worse it's going to get. And so the first thing I tell people, even before this happened, people that are in dire straits financially, most of them don't really know where they are. financially. So the first step is to figure out where you are. My dad used to say a map doesn't do you any good if you don't know where you are and where you want to go. Figure out where you are. How bad are you? And if you didn't have enough of an emergency fund, that's lesson number one. You better be paying attention to create an emergency fund into the future. But the first thing is to analyze and say, okay, so the way I was doing things before now didn't help me. So what do I need to change today to start building those income producing assets? And believe me, whatever you've gone through, other people are going through it or have been through it. And if you can help a little shed of light to them, you're going to help them get through it. But the first thing is to make sure you're taking advantage of everything that's available. Have you called your mortgage company? Get the deferral on your mortgage payments. Get a lower interest, refinance. I have 2 clients that refinance their mortgages and it helped them get rid of their credit card debt. Call your credit card companies, get deferrals, get a reduction in your interest rate. Most people have high interest credit cards still. It's 0%. You need to get it down. Get them down to where you can pay them off and get yourself into a better position when people are willing to work with you. My clients have had no one say anything negative to them. They've been very helpful. And if you can use the federal assistance, go for it. Your individual states, most people I talk to, Loral, don't understand that there's a lot of assistance available by your home states as well, most of them. So make sure you're taking advantage of everything possible.
Yep. And so when you go to the Outwitting the Devil, right? And how do you know which fear factor you're in? If you're collapsing fear, how do you know if it's the fear of, like health, death? Is it the fear of, isolation, or is it the fear, right, of really financially losing? How do you help people understand, I should say decide, clarify which one it really is? And is there different steps to walk you through in facing it?
Well, absolutely. And most people, it's not one or the other. It's the combination of both, which is why I think, plus, as you said, that isolation sneaks in there. And that's where all of a sudden your kids are 24/7. And so your patience level has, flown out the window. So you're trying to deal with patience. You love them to death, but you don't like them very much right now. And, think about them. This is the first time in their life their lives have been turned upside down. They haven't seen their friends. And so, I've been doing a weekly newsletter, giving some tips on how to create individual space so that you can have a space that's your own within your home, so you can kind of separate and breathe deeply and get some sunshine, because the vitamin D is going to help you. But understand that each one of different types of fear, they're all there. One may be more severe than another. You may not be financially struggling, so you have the fear of what's going to happen in the world, and you know that your business is going to suffer. So obviously your fear is not at the guttural level that many people are, where they have no income whatsoever, and they're applying for unemployment, or they're applying for the PPP loan or for the disaster loan, and they're seeing everybody else getting money and they're not getting it yet. Those are real fears. So I'm not going to tell you to just get over it. Those are real fears. The issue is, what are you going to concentrate on? If you take action, it's going to help you get through the fear more quickly. In Outwitting the Devil, he talks about definiteness of purpose. What can you do? You and I can't control what's happening in Washington, D.C., don't want to. We can't control what's happening at our state capitals, but we can control what's happening in our house. We can control what's happening in our wallets. And that's where you want Loral's guidance, right? What are we doing to prepare ourselves to come out ahead of the game? Because if you're paralyzed in that fear, people are going to run right past you, and you're going to get capsized when the economy opens again. You have a level playing field right now. Prepare yourself. Find out who you can affiliate with while you start building your own products or start your own business, so that when the economy does open up, you're on top of the wave, ready to create success. And make sure you have the right people on your team, which you do because you're part of Loral's group. Make sure you have the right mentors, but reach out and ask for that help. Understanding that, you are where you are today because of choices you made before today. If you want different choices, if you want something else in your life, make different choices. So definiteness of purpose, self-discipline. All right. I kind of cringe with everybody posting, I changed day pajamas to night pajamas, right? I'm doing a webinar, and they have on their boxers, suit on the top, boxers on the bottom. Yeah, that's funny, but is it productive?
Yeah.
You have, all of us have said things, when I have time, I will. When I have time, I will. Well, guess what? We have time. Now's the time to get those things done. And you are in the driver's seat. So what are you doing to prepare the next chapter of your life? So he talks about self-discipline. He talks about definiteness of purpose. He talks about learning from adversity. But most importantly, the steps he's talking about are, how are you using your time? Because that's the only precious resource that we have. We can make money, lose money, we all have, and you can make it back. But you can't get your time back.
Yeah.
And this time, I look at it as it has been a gift. I've had more time with my family than I've had in years. But it's stressful, right? It's like a pressure cooker.
Yep.
Too much of a good thing sometimes. And then what's your environment? What's the environment you're creating? And in the book, he talks about drifting. And it's a powerful tool about when you are drifting, which means you're kind of like letting the world happen to you. You're being reactive, not proactive. Somebody that says, oh, whatever, you just kind of go with the flow. The devil, he says you can think he's the real one or imaginary. Those are the people he loves to get to. And basically in the book, he says 98% of people are that way. And so he can mess with their brain through the use of fear. But those 2% non-drifters who know what they want and are focused and go after it. So they're self-disciplined, they know what they want, they control how they use their time, they control the environment they're in. They're the ones that, they're going to be the ones that are successful because they're focused on what they're doing. And that he talks about the drifting when you do it so long. And so I'm really worried about people that are going to have been home for 6 weeks, have created what they call hypnotic rhythm in the book. And that's where you've done something, you've developed a bad habit for so long that it just becomes like permanent. Now I'm telling everybody, let's have positive hypnotic rhythm during this time. Let's create good habits, new habits that create new opportunity so that when you come back out, you are armed and ready to succeed.
So I love that word, drifting, because one of, Kelly Corsick, who's actually, in Scottsdale there, runs Flip. He's given me a whole bunch of new words. He said, as far as the stock market, start nibbling back at it, right? So I like your drifting, because I've been saying that people are on vacation because they're not paying attention. It's amazing how many people, and I'm just curious what you're seeing, that are really taking this serious in a time of, like you said, recreating, designing for the new norm. Because I think the new norm is going to be very different. I don't think it's going to look anything like we used to. I think it's going to be curious.
Absolutely. People keep saying to me, I'm going to start looking at commercial real estate. I said, that's the last thing I'd look at right now, because when businesses start opening again, a lot of Neiman Marcus, a lot of them are going away. We don't know what commercial real estate is going to be. And all these businesses that have transformed into virtual companies, I'm not going to invest in commercial real estate, but what's really hot right now is going to be residential rental, the B and C type properties.
Yep.
They're recession proof. So
Yep.
Understand to do your due diligence and look and see what is going to be strong throughout this. Clorox, Kimberly-Clark, Zoom. I wish I'd had ownership in Zoom a few months ago. But there's, you just need to pay attention and educate yourself as to what's coming back and coming strong. I mean, right now, oil and gas, $10, $11 a barrel. It's going to take a while for it to come back, but it will come back.
It will. Oh, absolutely. So what are some other, so avoiding the hypnotic, right, trance, because I see people begin on vacation and drifting. What are some other kind of tactics around being in action and deciding and designing your life? Because the other thing I speak about too, and I want you to kind of dig into this a little bit, is I say, fear and excitement have the same kind of adrenaline, right? So the feeling can be similar, but you have to have some discernment. Mm-hmm. So any more words and really like actions, like what can people do? Because they're watching, there's, saying, now what do I do?
Yeah, well, fear either motivate or it paralyzes you or motivates you. And that most of us are paralyzed by fear. But when you turn that fear into motivation, it turns into energy. And so you're turning your fear into energy, into focus. And that focus is going to help you create something that comes out the other side. And the issue is, it's really kind of easy. Successful businesses solve a problem or serve a need, right? We wouldn't be doing what we're doing, Loral, if people didn't need help financially. And so reminding yourself of what you're doing. I have the personal success equation that was in 3 Feet from Gold. Your passion and your talent times the right association times taking the right action plus having faith in yourself. And I've got it's not a sales pitch, but on personalsuccessequation.com, I've got a thing you can go through to really analyze your own personal success equation, figuring out, my passion came from anger. I was mad we weren't teaching kids about money in school. My talent, I'm a CPA and I'm in publishing. Lots of publishing experience. But most of us stop there because we think we have to do everything on our own. And that's why you stay self-employed or you own a job, not a business. True success comes through the power of association, having the right people on your team. Loral and I support each other. We're power of association times 10, right? Power of association, then times taking the right action and knowing what you're supposed to do, plus faith, having faith in yourself. And most of us, that F is fear. And when I start working with new clients, it's usually the power of association and that faith in themselves. Those are the two areas that most often need to be fine-tuned. When was the last time you expanded your associations? The mentor that you had to get you to where you are today may not be the mentor you need to get to where you need to be tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Do you have people on your team who are strong where you are weak? Are all the members on your team lookalikes? That's not healthy. You want people that are strong where you're weak. You want people that are going to challenge you to keep moving in the right direction.
Sharon, what would you say to women? What's the advice you're giving to women specifically in times like this?
Well, I have a lot of women reaching out to me because even powerful executive women who are now at home trying to keep their C-suite powerhouse job afloat with babies crying behind them, right? And dogs jumping into their lap. It kind of has questions their position. So we are in unprecedented times. Yeah. And the part is you used the word earlier, compartmentalize. I talk to people about that. Have time blocking. Yeah. Because when you have kids, it's important for mom and dad to have like assigned quiet times, right? I have something important I need to do. You're in charge of the kids. I have a sign that I put on front of my door, live, meaning don't come in here. I'm doing a broadcast. So systematizing your life, because when you're in this pressure cooker, it's easy to lose control. And it's important to have your place, your quiet place, get some exercise, get some sun, but also focus your energies by time blocking on your calendar so that you are making progress each day.
Mm-hmm. Now let's go to some financial fitness for families. So I shared with you right before the broadcast, Kyle Beckman, who is a retired lieutenant colonel from the Air Force, actually Air Force fighter pilot. Been a client of mine for a while. His family and our family became close, and we're writing a book coming out July 4th for family financial literacy. So near and dear to your heart. And I think you were actually single-handedly talk a little bit about Arizona and the school systems, because you got financial literacy in the school systems in Arizona.
Yes, I did. There are 17 states that have financial education required for high school graduation, but only 7 of those require a separate class. So it's not good enough. Only 7 out of 50 states. And there's more movement now than there have been in years. In Arizona, I got the law passed about 6 years ago now requiring financial literacy, but it's part of the economics program. And so we've been back to the trough this year. Of course, it kind of got derailed in the last few months, but to get a separate class. And, I tell you, it's actually criminal. We teach our kids about condoms, but we don't teach them about money. And the phrase, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, well, of course they do, because they're learning about money at home. If we truly want to level the playing field so that every child has equal opportunity to succeed, we'd require financial education within the school system. And it's been my goal since I was on the President's Council. We have to get this information into the school systems. Unfortunately, it's a state by state controlled issue. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, but from a standpoint of getting that information to the kids' hands, if you have children or you have young people that you care about, don't wait for the school to do it. It's up to you to educate them about money. And that's why Laurel's written her book, and that's why I have the game Thrive Time for Teens, because I wanted to do something that was fun and a lot of humor in it, but teaching kids not just about how to spend their money, but also how to spend their time.
Yeah. So hold up your game again. And we're going to be putting that in our store. So you go to millionmakerstore.com and you'll be able to get Thrive Time. We're going to package it up with the Millionaire Maker. And it's a great game. Like Sharon, I've been telling a lot of the parents, and Logan, he's so funny. He said, Mom, he said, most people are probably going to keep, if they had to pick, they'll pick Netflix and Hulu before they'll pick spending time like on your broadcast or like
babysitters. You want the babysitters, right? They want the babysitters.
And it's like, you got to turn all that off, folks. If you're going to binge, I just recorded probably 50 hours of what to do. Really, really meticulous what to do down to the banking level, credit level. And, binge on like financial literacy, play the game, put the Monopoly game out, put Thrive Time out, put the Millionaire Maker out.
Even Payday, which is, all of them exposes your children to the aspects of money. And it's, people say to me, well, I don't want my kids to learn about money too young. I don't want to be greedy. I'm going, at what age do you think a child knows the difference between a $1 bill and a $20 bill? 3?
Yeah.
Maybe 4? They know the difference in the spending power. They need to start understanding the difference in the earning power and understand the essence of assets.
Well, and what's frustrating still, and even with the financial literacy that is in the few schools, is the concept of entrepreneurship. It is just not. It's still occupation. Who are you going to be? Very much like an occupation versus, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm probably going to change the things I do through the course of my life. Like
compound interest. Yes.
Yeah, we don't even hear about any of that. So give some, I'm going to say some script or conversation to the families that are listening that still haven't brought financial literacy into their either weekly meeting or their dinner table or their conversation. What are some entry points? I always say the game, I think, has always been, even from when I started with cash flow.
The game was designed to help parents do it, because most of the time parents don't want to do it because they're embarrassed. They don't want their children to know that they need it. And when I play this with high school students, they go, why aren't they teaching me this in school? This is the information I need to know. And you know what? My parents need this game. So it's a great way for parents to learn while they're teaching their kids. And it takes the personal emotion out of it, because it's not your finances. So that's why I created Thrive Time for Teens. But more importantly, I talk about even with young kids, when you're out and about, and now you're not out and about, but you could still talk about it. You take them to a fast food joint. You say, the owner's not here because he owns the system. And there are people here running that system for him. And there's one company that does the straws. There's a different company that makes the things the hamburgers are in. Just talking about the world of business starts opening their eyes to start seeing the economic engines around them, rather than employee. Start planting those seeds of business owners and assets. Drive by a home that says for rent, somebody owns that house and they make it available for rent for the people that need places to live that can't afford to buy it on their own. That's an asset. And so understanding, just opening their eyes to the economic world around them.
So Sharon, how can people get in touch with you? I know You have a Facebook group. I started our Facebook group, Millionaires in Training. I love our groups to start commingling. So where can they follow you on a Facebook group?
Absolutely. I have the Play Big movement with Sharon Lechter. It's a private Facebook group, and I formed it a couple of years ago. And Laurel knows I lost my youngest son about 7 years ago. And for several years, I just was numb. Many of you may have had something that stopped you in your tracks, whether it have been death, divorce, financial setback, and certainly what's happening now. And you can get PTSD from it, right? And it takes a long time to be able to get out of it. And about 3 years ago, in fact, Laurel, I think I talked to you, I almost thought about retiring, and I got a lot of pushback. And in fact, I think I even heard from him saying, get over it, Mom, there's more for you to do. And that's everyone watching and listening. There's more for you to do. People could benefit from what you know. And so I decided to play big again and launch the Play Big movement. And when I made the decision to get back into the game, amazing things started happening. I was on several big stages, and earlier this year, I was highlighted in the World's Greatest Motivators television show. And it was because I made myself open to the opportunity. And so now is the time to make yourself open to the opportunity. So I started the Facebook group just to share the things that I'm doing, and so people can also support each other. It's a total free group, but we'd love for you to join us and to share what you're doing. And know every week I do a broadcast in there about how to play big, and whether it be your mindset or the actions that you're taking, you have an opportunity to serve more people by playing bigger. And that's what it's all about.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being on. And I just so appreciate you. Again, go to Play Big Movement Facebook group, and we'll get your group making money and our group playing bigger and bigger and bigger.
Absolutely. And they can follow me, Sharon Lechter, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If you want to reach out to me, just send me an email, info@Sharon Lechter. I'm here to support you, and I will always show up to support Laurel.
Thank you. Have a great day. Blessed to have you in my life.
Same here, my dear. Love you.
Thank you. And so there you have it. You met my financial mom, and all of you need one. I am that for many, many people. And you just start this conversation with money. It is so critical that this is the time. You have the time. Make this important. Make this important. One of the things I haven't encouraged some of you to do that are still, I love Sharon's word, drifting or being on vacation, or haven't put money as a priority, is design your life. Like, who are you going to be when you walk through this? You do have, as she said, time to do it. And if you're super financially illiterate, that's all right. We meet you where you are. We take you where you have to go. So depending on where you are, the Yes Energy book is great. Reading that side by side with Outwitting the Devil is amazing tandem. Those of you that really want to get into some tactical action, The Millionaire Maker, Cash Machines, Designing a Big Business, Wealth Cycles is learning what are your choices off Wall Street to invest, and then put more cash in your pocket has been what the market awareness whole program has been about, is helping you make new money. So again, those of you who've been watching, again, thank you, Sharon Lechter. Will be continuing in the chat, and we will be back next week on our Market Awareness Live broadcast.